Hey there! Being a somewhat new feature by the time of the video, cards might be experiencing some changes in the future, yet the basics explained in the video are likely to remain untouched. With any updates, some changes in the guide may appear. While card bets may prove profitable with cards and strategy good enough to beat most opponents, card battles are not a source of income on their own, but rather an entertainment one, which for enthusiasts will be worth spending higher amounts. In many competitive cases, they may also prove expensive to the point of using over 200,000 gems, which still for some players may even be rookie numbers. With more competitive battles out of the way, there still are some battles, just as common, requiring the lower limits of 50,000 gems. Those tend to feature lower deck values, yet not only the value wins the game, but the strategies. With cards randomly generated in each pack, decks tend to be more powerful along with pack purchases. Yet that is not always the case. While the single purchase starter pack may seem like a reasonable starting point for some, it offers 20 lower tier cards usable as a part of the deck during basic games. On their own they will not make for an advanced game pack, but would need to be aided with additional cards from the so known basic card pack. Any other cards than the starter ones, excluding action or effect cards, could be used instead of starter cards. Starter cards might just be a way of getting into basic card games, which cannot compete for popularity with advanced card games. The latter, the advanced card games, being for many the main point around the feature. Card packs purchasable from the store are tradable in both Pixel's exchange and between players, yet each card from an opened pack stays in player's card collection permanently, unless a player chooses to disenchant it, thus turn it into the Pixel dust, for which there is some use in crafting other cards. Having found a spare normal or golden card we won't use, converting it for the sake of creating powerful effect or character cards might just work. While there are some existing tradable legendary cards, those are a minority and can both be bought, added to the deck, removed and sold normally. Having previously purchased card packs, card collection can be accessed by the in-game menu. Either one of the modes will be explained in the next part, yet each one requires its own build deck. Pressing basic as our option, clicking each one and adding it to the deck will be our option to building the deck. Each mode is limited by the number of the cards in power, with basic mode requiring 20 character cards and advanced requiring 30 mixed character, action and effect cards. That all would be explained during its own part. Every and each card has its own power aside from the elements, and that power is what increases the overall deck power, at the same time closing up to the 100 power limit. Building an advanced deck, while similar to the basic one in assembling, requires 30 cards and is limited by power of 100, preferably consisting of at least 18 character cards and the rest being both action and effect cards. That is for anyone to test on their own, yet my own deck consists of 20 character cards, 6 action cards and 4 effect cards. Me being somewhat unexperienced in that field, there sure are better ways to creating your deck that someone else knows. While there may be more or less effective strategies during both of the modes, none of those I will be explaining in detail, leaving it to be explained by more experienced players. It is mostly about the strategies and experience. With the right circumstances, even a 50 deck could be beating a 91. Searching for card games, you might find some willing players in words related to cards, as card, cards or card battle, yet any active words as trade, buy and all the community worlds may have someone with a deck willing to play. Having a viable deck for either a basic or advanced game, you will be able to challenge anyone with a built deck, or be challenged by others. From that point on, the first challenging player gets to decide the game mode and to either go for the stakes or to play for free. There needs to be at least one deck that you both own, either an advanced or a basic one, to play on. The most basic of all rules during the card games would be owning most of the cards by the end of the game. The way to doing it would be capturing the cards by placing a card with equal or higher power of the same element near the opponent's card. That also applies to capturing more than one card at a time, allowing for combinations of card takeovers. While both game modes resolve around the game with more allied, which are blue and hours, cards on the board, basic mode is made to be a quicker, less complicated one. Offering 9 spots on the board, this mode tasks us with securing 5 or more cards of our own by the end of the game, without the usage of action or effect cards. This game mode requires a deck with an exact number of 20 cards, and depending on our cards, power limited to maximum of 50. Not much more to be said about the mode, but to capture cards with an equal or bigger number of an element we are touching an opponent's card with. Advanced game mode requires many more strategies and a way to predicting your opponent's next moves. It often serves as the competitive way of playing cards and is seen as such by many players, having spent a good part of gems in. With 15 spots on the board, anyone securing 8 or more cards of their own by the end of the game would win the whole game. And while the rules may seem easy at first, Road to Victory often tends to take unpredictable turns, with action and effect cards now playing their own role during the games. Green effect cards last through the entire game once applied, unless replaced by us or discarded by the opponent, strengthening the elements of your cards depending on rules stated on the effect card. There are exceptions of their own, all the effect cards explain themselves. Unless the card states otherwise, it will work normally. Action cards, on the other hand, work according to their own written on them rules, yet most of them are single-use cards, with effects lasting only during that very turn. While there are some that may also work until our next turn, that is, throughout the opponent's turn as well, those are mostly higher tier cards. From the most basic, single-use strengthening cards, to cards preventing our opponents from placing a single card on their turn, action cards could turn the tide of the game rather quickly. Well, as before, I'd love the strategies to remain for someone else to explain. One of the simplest rules would be to trap the biggest amount of cards possible, preventing our opponent from reclaiming them on their own turn, which is just trapping the cards without a way for others to take them back, utilizing the effect and action cards nicely, all the while strategically placing cards. Winning comes in simply from holding 8 or more cards on the table by the end of the game. Planning to use either an action or an effect card, one needs to be placed before a character card is placed. There is no way to using any other card after a character card is placed on that very turn. If needed be, rounds can be skipped using anything or nothing at all. Yet if we feel finished with our turn, something not to forget is ending the turn with a button. While the guide might have not touched some other topics, I'll still hope it to be useful in some way. Good luck and see ya.